Marcus Chen spent 20 years controlling courtrooms. Control meant nothing when a cargo container ripped through his ferry in an Aegean storm. He grabbed debris with three strangers: a fisherman who couldn't swim, a backpacker with a broken arm, a retired teacher, two life jackets for four people, one emergency kit, 5 days before dehydration killed them. This is how 17 days adrift forced one man to face every truth he'd run from. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Marcus arrived at Piraeus port with his laptop bag in irritation. The ferry was delayed 30 minutes. 30 minutes he didn't have. His phone pressed against his ear as he walked through the terminal, stepping around families with overstuffed luggage and backpackers sprawled across benches. "I don't care what time it is in Athens," he said into the phone. "The Hoffman contract needs signatures by Monday." He sidestepped a woman struggling with a stroller. "No, I'll have signal. It's a 3-hour ferry ride, not the dark side of the moon." The departure board flickered. Gate 7. Boarding in 15 minutes. He moved through the crowd like he moved through courtrooms. Efficient, focused, oblivious to everything that wasn't immediately useful. An elderly man in a fisherman's cap sat alone on a bench, watching the sea through the terminal windows, with the stillness of someone who'd spent his life reading water. Marcus noticed none of them. His associate's voice crackled through the phone. "The partners think you should actually take this vacation. Rest, recharge." "I'll rest when I'm dead." Marcus shifted the laptop bag on his shoulder. "Email me the revised terms. I'll review them on the boat." He ended the call and joined the boarding line. The ferry attendant tried to explain the safety procedures: life jacket locations, emergency exits, assembly points. Marcus nodded without listening, already pulling out his laptop as he walked up the gangway. The upper deck was half empty. Marcus claimed a spot near the railing where he'd have space to work. He opened his laptop and pulled up the contract files. Around him, passengers settled into their seats. A young woman with her arm in a sling, Norwegian by her accent, tried to wedge her backpack into an overhead compartment with one hand. She struggled. Marcus glanced up, considered helping, then looked back at his screen. The ferry's horn blasted. The engines rumbled to life beneath his feet. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma, his daughter, her third this week. He swiped it away without reading. They'd talk after he handled the Hoffman deal, after he closed the Richards merger. There was always an after with Emma. There had been for 3 years now. The ferry pulled away from the dock. Athens receded behind them. The Aegean spread out ahead, darker blue than the tourist brochures suggested. Marcus typed faster. The morning sun glared off his screen. His coffee sat untouched beside him, cooling in a paper cup. He didn't notice the elderly fisherman from the terminal taking a seat 3 rows behind him. Didn't see the Norwegian woman finally wrestle her backpack into place. Didn't acknowledge the retired school teacher who asked if the seat next to him was taken. "It's free," he said without looking up. She sat anyway, pulling out a paperback novel and a small bag of medications. Marcus returned to his contract review. The ferry cut through calm water. The sky stretched clear and blue in every direction. Everything was normal. Everything was under control. 2 hours until Santorini. An hour into the crossing, the Wi-Fi died. Marcus stared at his laptop screen, watching the connection icon spin uselessly. He closed the contract file and stood, stretching legs that had gone stiff. The woman beside him looked up from her book. "Beautiful day for a crossing," she said. American accent, Midwest somewhere. "Yeah." Marcus moved toward the ferry's cafe. The interior deck smelled like burnt coffee and fried food. He ordered coffee. Black. The elderly fisherman from the terminal stood near the window, watching the horizon with a frown. Up close, his face was weathered like driftwood, creased by decades of sun and wind. He muttered something in Greek to a passing crew member. The crew member shrugged. "Weather report says clear skies all day." "Weather reports." The old man shook his head. "The sea tells different stories." Marcus paid for his coffee and headed back to his seat. The Norwegian woman was at the railing now, taking photos with one hand, while her broken arm hung useless in its sling. When Marcus reached his seat, The retired school teacher had organized her medications into a small waterproof pouch. Each bottle fitted into its own compartment with the precision of someone who'd learned that systems mattered. "Patricia Morrison," she said, extending her hand. "Everyone calls me Pat." Marcus shook it briefly. "Marcus Chen. First time to Santorini. Business trip." He sat back down, reopened his laptop even though the Wi-Fi was still dead. She didn't take the hint. "I taught 5th grade for 40 years in Cleveland. Retired last year. This is my better late than never trip." She smiled. "My husband always said we'd do Europe together. He died before we got the chance. So I'm doing it for both of us." Marcus nodded. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Every journey's an adventure, even the ones you take alone." She returned to her book. The ferry's engines changed pitch slightly. Marcus felt it through the deck, a subtle shift in the vibration pattern. Through the window, clouds were building on the western horizon. Dark clouds, moving fast. The elderly fisherman appeared at the railing, gripping it with calloused hands. A crew member walked past. The old man grabbed his arm. "That storm. How fast is it moving?" The crew member checked his phone. "Forecast says it'll pass south of us. Nothing to worry about." "Forecasts." The fisherman released his arm. "You should tell the captain to change course. We're on schedule. Santorini in 50 minutes. Marcus saved his work file even though he hadn't made any changes. The coffee in his cup sloshed as the ferry hit a larger swell. Pat looked up from her book. The Norwegian woman returned from the railing, suddenly interested in securing her backpack. The clouds moved closer. The water changed from calm blue to choppy gray in the span of 10 minutes. Marcus checked his watch. 45 minutes to Santorini, then solid ground, then back to work. He told himself the tightness in his chest was just bad coffee. The storm was coming faster than any forecast predicted. The announcement came in Greek first, then English. "All passengers, please move to enclosed deck areas. Secure loose items." Marcus grabbed his laptop and coffee cup. Around him, tourists gathered their things with casual annoyance. Pat tucked her book into her bag carefully. The ferry listed slightly to port. Just a degree or two, but enough to make Marcus grip the railing as he stood. His coffee sloshed over the rim, burning his hand. "You should move inside," the elderly fisherman said. He'd appeared beside Marcus without sound. "Storm's bad. Worse than they know. They said it's just precautionary." "They're wrong?" The old man studied the western horizon, where the clouds had turned the color of bruises. "I've fished these waters 50 years. That storm's moving too fast, and we're carrying cargo wrong." Marcus followed his gaze to the forward deck where cargo containers sat stacked and secured with chains. "What's wrong with the cargo?" "Weight distribution, top heavy, and those chains," he pointed. "See the rust, port side chains. I watched them load this morning. Should have said something." Another announcement, more urgent this time. Crew members moved through the deck, ushering passengers toward the interior cabins. The Norwegian woman struggled with her backpack. Pat was already moving toward the doors, her waterproof medication pouch clutched tight. Marcus stayed put. He needed to finish reviewing the contract terms. 30 minutes. The wind hit like a fist. The ferry tilted hard to starboard. Marcus's laptop slid across the deck. He lunged for it, missed, watched it skitter toward the railing. A wave crashed over the side. His laptop disappeared in the surge. Over the edge, gone. 20 years of case files, everything. The ferry lurched violently. Marcus grabbed the railing with both hands. Metal groaned somewhere forward. The cargo containers shifted, just an inch. The elderly fisherman was already moving toward the interior doors. "Get inside. Now!" Marcus stumbled after him. The deck was slick with seawater. His dress shoes had zero traction. Pat appeared in the doorway, reaching out. "Come on!" A massive wave hit the ferry broadside. The vessel rolled 20 degrees to port. Passengers screamed. Loose deck chairs tumbled and crashed. And forward, with a screech of metal that cut through the wind's howl, the top cargo container broke free. The rusted chains snapped like thread. Marcus watched it slide across the tilted deck, gathering speed, heading straight for the railing, where the Norwegian woman stood frozen. The old fisherman shouted something in Greek. Pat screamed. The container weighed several tons. It hit the railing at full force. The metal barrier exploded outward. The container kept going, tearing through the ferry's side like paper, ripping open the hull below the waterline. The sound was catastrophic. Screeching metal, splintering fiberglass, rushing water. Alarms erupted across the ship. The ferry listed hard to port, losing stability as water poured through the massive breach. Marcus felt the deck tilt beneath him, gravity shifting. He had maybe 30 seconds to understand what was happening. The ferry was sinking. They were 12 miles from land, and he didn't even have his phone anymore. The ferry's captain came on the intercom, his voice tight with controlled panic. All passengers to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Crew to evacuation positions. Marcus's legal mind tried to process what that meant. Emergency stations. Evacuation. The words didn't connect to reality. He'd reviewed maritime insurance policies, knew the statistics. Ferry accidents in the Aegean were rare, almost unheard of in modern times. The deck tilted another 5 degrees. Water was flooding the lower levels now. He could hear it through the hull, a rushing, consuming sound that didn't belong on a boat. The Norwegian woman finally moved, stumbling toward the doors with her one good arm outstretched for balance. Marcus didn't remember jumping. One moment he was on the tilting deck, the next he was in the water. Cold shock through his body. The Aegean in June was maybe 65 degrees, cold enough to kill in hours without protection. He surfaced, gasping. The ferry loomed above him, listing at 45 degrees, its white hull streaked with rust. Passengers were jumping from the railings. Some hit the water cleanly, others didn't. The screaming mixed with the groan of the dying ship. Something hard hit Marcus's shoulder, a deck chair. He grabbed it, then let it go. Too awkward. His dress shoes dragged at his feet. His suit jacket pulled him down. He kicked off the shoes and stripped the jacket. Let them sink. Help! Please, someone help! The Norwegian woman thrashing in the water with one arm. She was maybe 20 feet away, going under, coming back up coughing. Marcus swam toward her. His strokes were clumsy. He'd learned to swim in a Manhattan pool, not open ocean. He reached her as she went under again, grabbed her collar and hauled her up. She coughed seawater into his face. "I can't swim," she choked out. "My arm." "Stop fighting. Float on your back." He pulled her into a rescue position he half remembered from a safety course 20 years ago. She thrashed anyway. Her elbow caught his jaw. Stars exploded in his vision. "Stop or we both drown." She went still. Sort of. A life preserver splashed into the water 10 feet away. Bright orange, attached to a rope. Someone on deck was still functioning. Marcus kicked toward it, dragging the Norwegian woman with him. His legs burned. Everything burned. They reached the preserver together. Marcus shoved it at her. "Hold this. Don't let go." He looked around, treading water. Bodies everywhere. Some swimming, some floating face down, some clinging to debris. The ferry's stern was rising out of the water. Maybe 5 minutes left. Pat appeared in the water 20 yards away, surprisingly calm. She had a life jacket and was paddling toward debris with steady strokes. The elderly fisherman surfaced near Marcus, coughing, but moving with ease. He grabbed a floating cooler and held it against his chest. "Can you swim?" Marcus shouted. "No." The old man's voice was steady. "Never learned. Always had a boat. But I float. I don't panic." The ferry's horn blasted one final time. Then the bow slipped beneath the surface with a sound like the world swallowing itself. The suction pulled at Marcus, dragging him toward where the ferry had been. He kicked hard, swimming away, pulling the Norwegian woman with him. The old fisherman was doing the same, his cooler keeping him afloat. The ferry disappeared. 200 passengers, gone in under 8 minutes. Marcus floated in the suddenly quiet water, breathing hard, surrounded by debris and bodies, in the vast, empty Aegean. The storm passed quickly. 20 minutes after the ferry sank, the wind died and the waves flattened. The sun broke through the clouds. He treaded water, still holding the Norwegian woman's life preserver, and took inventory. His watch, a $12,000 Rolex, still ticked on his wrist. Completely useless except for telling him it was 11:43. "We need to stay together," Pat called out. She was maybe 30 feet away. 4 of us. We stay together. The old fisherman kicked over with his cooler. Blood ran from a gash above his eyebrow. She's right. Alone we die. Together maybe we survive. I'm Elena, the Norwegian woman said through chattering teeth. Elena Nordstrom, from Oslo. Dimitris Pappas, Santorini. Patricia Morrison, Pat, Cleveland, Ohio. They all looked at Marcus. Marcus Chen, Manhattan. So what now? Elena's voice had hysteria creeping back in. We just float here until we die. We build a raft, Dimitri said. Enough debris here. We lash it together. Make platform. Then we wait for rescue. With what? Marcus looked at the scattered wreckage. We don't have rope. We don't have tools. We have belts, clothing, plastic sheeting. Dimitri's was already moving toward a larger piece of decking. And we have hands. Survivors make do. Pat followed him without question. Elena looked at Marcus, waiting for him to decide. He had no idea what to do, but doing nothing wasn't an option. Okay, let's build a raft. They worked for the next hour, gathering debris and lashing pieces together. Marcus's belt became a binding strap. Pat's cardigan, torn into strips, tied sections of deck railing together. Elena, one-armed but determined, held pieces in place while the others secured them. Dimitri's directed with calm authority. That piece there. Yes, now cross it over. Make X shape. Stronger that way. They found treasures in the debris field. A waterproof emergency kit still sealed. 2 more life jackets, damaged but functional. A plastic tarp. Half a dozen water bottles, mostly empty. 1 phone, cracked screen, dead. Coast Guard will come, Pat said as she worked. They track these ferries. When it doesn't arrive in Santorini, they'll search. How long? Elena asked. Nobody answered. By early afternoon, they had something resembling a raft. 6 feet by 4 feet of lashed-together decking, railings, and cargo netting. It barely supported their weight, sitting low in the water, but it was something. They climbed on carefully, distributing their weight. Marcus lay on his back, exhausted. His body ached, his throat burned from swallowing seawater. His hands were torn from working with rough metal. I see helicopters, Elena said suddenly. There, to the north. 3 helicopters, dark spots against the bright sky, search and rescue. Dimitri's pulled a flare from the emergency kit. Red, waterproof. Everyone ready. They watched the helicopters approach. A mile away, half a mile. Dimitri's lit the flare. The flare burned brilliant red against the blue sky, trailing smoke. Dimitri's held it high, waving it. Marcus and Pat waved their arms. Elena screamed. The helicopters continued north. They're not turning, Elena said. Why aren't they turning? Wave more, Pat shouted. But the helicopters didn't turn. They flew in their precise formation, following a search pattern that didn't include this section of ocean. Marcus watched them grow smaller. His throat was raw from shouting. The flare burned out. The smoke dissipated. The helicopters disappeared over the horizon. Silence settled over the raft. Elena started crying. Pat put an arm around her shoulders. They're searching the ferry's last known position, Dimitri said quietly. We've drifted. Currents pulling us south and east, away from the search zone. How far? Marcus asked. Already, maybe 3 miles. By tomorrow, 10, maybe more. The old fisherman pulled the emergency kit closer and opened it fully. We need to see what we have. Marcus helped Dimitri spread the kit's contents across the raft. 1 emergency blanket, silver and crinkly. 3 flares remaining, 2 red, 1 white. A small first aid kit, a plastic whistle, a compact mirror, a folding knife with a 3-inch blade, 6 water purification tablets, and a hand-crank emergency radio, its casing cracked. That's it. Elena stared at the collection. That's everything. More than many have, Dimitri said. He picked up the radio and tried the crank. It turned, but no sound came out. Water damage. He organized the rest carefully. We ration the flares. Save them for when aircraft or ships are close enough to see us. What about water? Pat asked. Dimitri's held up the 6 tablets. These purify 1 liter each. We have no containers. When it rains, we use the blanket to funnel water into mouths. Until then, we wait. How long can we last without water? Elena's voice was small. 3 days, maybe 4 in this temperature. Dimitri's didn't soften it. After that, our bodies start shutting down. Marcus did the math. It was Tuesday. The ferry sank at noon. Rescue helicopters were searching the wrong area. By Friday, they'd be dead or dying. My daughter, Marcus said suddenly. Emma, she's 19. I haven't seen her in 3 years. Not since her mother and I divorced. I kept saying I'd visit, but work always came first. He didn't know why he was talking. Maybe staring at your own mortality made pretending pointless. She texted me this morning. 3rd time this week. I didn't read it. I was reviewing a contract for a client I don't even like, and I ignored my daughter. You'll see her again, Pat said, but her voice lacked conviction. Will I? Marcus looked at the empty horizon. We're drifting away from rescue. We have no water, 3 flares. So we don't give up, Dimitri said firmly. We survive today, then tomorrow, then the day after. We stay alive until we don't. That's all we can do. The sun was setting, painting the water golden orange. Marcus had never noticed sunsets before, never had time. It terrified him. Night fell fast. One moment the sky glowed orange. The next it was black with stars brighter than Marcus had ever seen. No light pollution out here, just stars and water, and the 4 of them huddled on their makeshift raft. The temperature dropped, not dangerously cold, but enough to make them shiver in their wet clothes. Dimitri spread the emergency blanket over all 4 of them. It was barely big enough, forcing them to press together for warmth. We take shifts, Dimitri said. 2 sleep, 2 watch. Watch for ships, for lights, for anything. And we paddle. Keep the raft from spinning, use our hands, our feet, small movements to control drift. I'll take first watch, Pat volunteered. I don't sleep much anyway, old age. I'll stay up with you, Marcus said. He didn't think he could sleep anyway. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the ferry tilting, heard the screaming. Elena and Dimitris huddled together under the blanket. Within minutes, both were breathing steadily, asleep or pretending to be. Marcus and Pat sat at opposite ends of the raft, paddling occasionally with their hands to keep them positioned correctly. The water was calmer now, rolling swells instead of choppy waves. You really haven't seen your daughter in 3 years, Pat asked quietly. 3 years, 2 months, 16 days. Marcus surprised himself by knowing the exact count. She called me after her high school graduation, asked me to visit. I said I would, but I had a trial, then a merger, then another trial. I kept rescheduling. She stopped asking. She stopped calling. This story takes time to craft. If you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Marcus woke to Pat shaking his shoulder. He didn't remember falling asleep. The sky was gray with pre-dawn light and his mouth tasted like death. Your turn to watch, Pat whispered. She looked exhausted. Nothing passed all night. Marcus sat up, every muscle screaming. The raft had held through the night, but barely. 2 lashings had come loose. The platform tilted at an angle now, one corner riding lower. Elena was awake, cradling her broken arm. Her face was tight with pain. Her forearm was swollen, angry red spreading from beneath the makeshift splint. Let me see, Pat said. She unwrapped Elena's arm carefully. The break was bad. The forearm bent at a slight angle where it shouldn't. The skin around the break was hot, inflamed. It's infected, Pat said quietly. The salt water, the bacteria, we need to clean it, but we don't have fresh water to spare. Use seawater, Dimitri said. He pulled the small first aid kit from the emergency supplies. Inside were alcohol wipes, bandages, and antibiotic ointment. Pat cleaned the wound as best she could. Elena bit down on her good hand to keep from screaming. When Pat applied the ointment and rewrapped the arm, Elena was shaking. How long before the infection gets worse? Marcus asked. Without real antibiotics, 2 days, maybe 3, then fever. After that, the infection could spread. Sepsis. So we have 2 days to get rescued, Elena said. 2 days before I die from a broken arm. You're not dying, Marcus said. We're getting off this raft. All of us. How? Elena's laugh had hysteria in it. The helicopters didn't see us. We're drifting away from shipping lanes. Stop it! Dimitri's voice cut through her spiral. You want to die? Then die quiet. Rest of us are fighting. The words worked. Elena closed her mouth and turned away. The sun climbed higher. By mid-morning, Marcus's lips were cracking. His tongue felt swollen. He wanted water more than he'd ever wanted anything. We need to ration our movements, Dimitri said. Save energy. Breathe through noses, not mouths. Reduces water loss. How do you know all this? Marcus asked. 50 years on the water. You learn or you die. Dimitri's closed his eyes. I've been in bad situations before. Boat engine died. Storm came. Spent 2 days drifting before my son found me. 20 years ago, before the sea took him. Pat pulled out the mirror. We can use this. Signal passing ships. Day 3 started with hallucinations. Marcus saw his office building rising from the water. He blinked and it was gone. I see my classroom, Pat said quietly. 28 desks, the alphabet above the blackboard. Stop talking, Dimitri said. His voice was cracked. Talking wastes moisture. Elena's fever had started overnight. She lay curled on her side, muttering in Norwegian. The infection was spreading. Ship, Dimitri's croaked. He pointed with a shaking hand. Marcus turned, squinting. There, on the horizon, a dark shape. The mirror, Pat said. She grabbed it and angled it toward the sun, flashing signals. SOS. Over and over. The shape didn't change course. They watched it for an hour, taking turns with the mirror. The ship maintained its heading. Never came closer. Eventually it disappeared. Dimitri pulled himself to the raft's edge. Fish, he said. Need to catch fish. Has moisture. Can keep us alive longer. With what? Marcus asked. We have a knife. We have belt material. Dimitri's pulled the folding knife from the emergency kit. He cut a strip from Marcus's belt and tied the knife to the end, creating a crude spear. You watch from above. Tell me when you see fish. Marcus positioned himself at the raft's edge and stared into the water. The Aegean was remarkably clear. Small fish darted through the blue too fast. Bigger fish cruised deeper, out of reach. An hour passed, then 2. Marcus's vision started to tunnel. There, he said, 2 o'clock, maybe 15 feet down. A fish the size of Marcus's forearm, moving slowly. Dimitri's leaned out, spear ready. The fish turned toward them. 12 feet, 10, 8. Dimitri struck. The knife spear plunged in. Then Dimitri's pulled up and the fish was there, impaled, thrashing. Got it. Pat grabbed Dimitri's arm, helping him pull it onto the raft. The fish was maybe 2 pounds. Dimitri's killed it quickly, then filleted it. His hands shook, but his movements were practiced. He divided into 4 portions. Eat it raw, he said. All of it. Meat and organs. Everything has moisture. Marcus stared at his portion. Raw fish. Scales still attached. His Manhattan sensibilities rebelled. This wasn't sushi. This was survival. He bit into the fish. It was disgusting. Slimy. Fishy. The organs burst in his mouth with textures he'd never experienced. It was also the most important meal of his life. The moisture wouldn't save them, but it would buy them another day, maybe 2. Day 5 brought clouds. Marcus saw them building on the western horizon at dawn and felt hope. Rain clouds, dark and heavy. Storm coming, Dimitri said. Maybe hour, maybe 2. They prepared with efficiency. Pat organized the emergency blanket into a funnel. Dimitri secured the edges with clothing strips. Elena positioned herself to hold it steady. The storm hit at mid-morning. Wind ripped across the water and rain hammered down. The raft tilted dangerously. They grabbed the lashings. The blanket! Pat shouted. Now! They held it up, angling it to catch rain. Water poured down, funneling toward the center. Marcus tilted his head back and opened his mouth. Rain hit his tongue. Fresh water. Real water. They took turns drinking directly from the funnel. Then they tried to save some, cupping hands, filling Elena's broken water bottles. But the rain was violent and the raft unstable. Most ran between their fingers. The storm lasted maybe 20 minutes. Then it passed, leaving them soaked and gasping, but alive. How much did we get? Elena asked, shivering. Enough, Pat said. Maybe 2 cups total. Enough for today. Dimitri stared at the horizon. Storm pushed us, changed our drift. We're not heading toward shipping lanes anymore. We're heading south, toward Crete maybe, or past it. Crete was over 100 miles south. If they drifted past it, there was nothing but Mediterranean until North Africa. So we adjust, Pat said. The water buys us time. I need to tell her something, Marcus said. Emma, my daughter, when we get rescued, I need to tell her I was wrong. About everything. You'll tell her, Dimitri said. We survived this, all of us. Too much left unsaid. They spent the rest of the day reorganizing their raft, tightening lashings, redistributing weight. The work was exhausting but gave them purpose. As the sun set on day 5, Marcus realized something. He'd laughed today. When Pat told a story about a student who'd brought a live chicken to school, it wasn't a big laugh, barely a chuckle. You could laugh while dying. He hadn't known that before. Night fell on day 5. They huddled together under the emergency blanket, bodies pressed close for warmth. Tell me about your son, Marcus said to Dimitris. The darkness made it easier to ask. Dimitris was quiet for a long moment. Nikos. He was 23, best fisherman in our village, better than me. Storm came up fast. He was alone. Radio died. By the time we found him, 3 days had passed. A cargo ship hit his boat in the night. I'm sorry, Pat said. He was going to be married, had a girl waiting. She still lives in the village, never married anyone else. Dimitris pulled the blanket tighter. That's why I was on the ferry, going to see her, bring her some of Nikos's things. My husband died of cancer, Pat said quietly. 5 years ago. We were supposed to retire together, travel Europe, but he got sick, and then he was gone. So you came anyway, Elena said. Her fever had broken slightly. She was lucid now. I came anyway, because John would have wanted me to, because life doesn't stop just because someone you love is gone, and I'm glad I did. Even if it ends here, at least I tried. Elena shifted her arm carefully. I was running away, from my family, from my boyfriend, from university. I told everyone I was taking a gap year to find myself, but really I was just scared. And now, Marcus asked, now I'm scared of dying without ever really living, without telling my mother I love her, without apologizing, without finishing my degree. Marcus understood that. 5 days ago, he would have said his career mattered, his partnership, his cases. Now none of that seemed real. What about you? Elena asked Marcus. What are you running from? Marcus stared up at the stars. They were impossibly bright out here, away from any city lights. Everything, he said finally. My daughter, my ex-wife, myself. I built this perfect life on paper. Partner at a top firm, penthouse in Manhattan, 6-figure salary that became 7 figures, but I was miserable every single day. Why didn't you change it? Pat asked. Because changing meant admitting I'd wasted 20 years chasing the wrong things. Easier to keep going, keep billing hours, keep telling myself it mattered. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Emma's last text, the one I didn't read, probably said she loved me, or that she missed me, and I swiped it away to review a contract. You can't change the past, Dimitri said, but you can change what comes next. If we survive this, you go see your daughter. You tell her everything. You start over. If we survive, Marcus repeated. When we survive, Pat corrected firmly. We've made it 5 days. That's 4 days longer than anyone expected. We're not giving up now. But Marcus could see the truth in their faces, even in the darkness. Pat's hands shook from low blood sugar. Elena's fever was coming back, her body fighting an infection it couldn't win against. Dimitris's breathing was labored, his infected cut spreading, and Marcus himself felt hollow, emptied out, running on nothing but stubborn refusal to die. They were alive, but barely, and tomorrow would be worse than today, and the day after that would be worse still. Unless something changed, unless they got rescued, unless a miracle happened. Marcus didn't believe in miracles. but he was starting to hope for one anyway. Day 8 brought delirium. Marcus watched Pat try to teach a class that didn't exist. She sat on the edge of the raft, gesturing to empty air, explaining long division to students who'd been gone for 5 years. "Pat," Marcus said gently, "there's no one there." She looked at him confused. "Of course there is. Can't you see them? Johnny's in the front row." Marcus didn't argue. They were all losing their minds. Elena talked to her mother in Norwegian for hours. Dimitri sang fishing songs from his childhood, his voice cracked and hoarse. And Marcus kept seeing Emma. Not hallucinations exactly. Memories playing on repeat. Emma at 5, asking him to push her on the swings. Emma at 12, showing him a spelling bee trophy. Emma at 16, crying because he'd missed her soccer championship. The raft was falling apart. The lashings had rotted in the salt water. Sections of decking drifted away during the night. They were down to maybe 4 feet by 3 feet now. Barely enough room for all 4 of them. The emergency kit was empty except for one flare. Red, their last chance. "We save it," Dimitri said when Elena suggested using it. "We save it for when we're certain someone will see." "We're dying," Elena said. Her infected arm was twice its normal size now, red streaks running past her elbow. "We're already dead. We just don't know it yet." Marcus tried to count the days but kept losing track. 8 days. 9. Time had stopped making sense. His watch still ticked. $12,000. Still keeping perfect time. Still completely useless. "I see a ship," Dimitri said. Marcus looked. Nothing but empty horizon. "There's no ship," he said. "There." Dimitris pointed with a shaking hand. "Right there. Big cargo vessel. Maybe 2 miles out." Marcus squinted, saw nothing, but he grabbed the mirror anyway and started flashing. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. "It's real," Elena said suddenly. "I see it too. It's real." Pat struggled to sit up. "The flare. Use the flare." Marcus kept flashing the mirror, afraid to believe. He'd been wrong so many times. But Dimitris was already pulling out the last flare. His hands shook so badly he almost dropped it. Marcus grabbed it from him. "Let me," he said. He held the flare up, reading the instructions. Pull the cap, strike the end, point away from face. The ship was getting closer, or he was hallucinating. Marcus pulled the cap. Struck the end. The flare ignited with a hiss and a burst of red smoke. He held it high, waving it back and forth, screaming. Pat was screaming too. Elena. Even Dimitris was shouting in Greek. The ship maintained its course, straight toward them. The ship was real. Marcus kept waiting for it to disappear. But it didn't. It grew larger, closer. A container ship, maybe 500 feet long, painted white with rust streaks. The flare burned out. Marcus dropped it, grabbed the mirror and started flashing again. The ship's horn blasted. Once. Twice. 3 times. They'd been seen. "They see us!" Elena was crying, laughing. "They actually see us!" Pat collapsed back onto the raft, sobbing. Dimitri sat perfectly still, staring at the approaching ship. The container ship slowed. Marcus could see crew members running along the deck, pointing. A smaller boat was being lowered. A rescue boat with an outboard motor. "We made it," Marcus said. "We actually made it." The rescue boat cut across the water toward them. 2 crew members, both wearing orange life vests. Hands reached out. Real hands. "The others first," Marcus said. "Elena's infected. Pat's diabetic." "We'll get everyone," one of the crew members said in accented English. "You first, then the others." Marcus let them pull him into the rescue boat. The solid fiberglass beneath him felt foreign. His legs wouldn't work. He collapsed onto the deck, shaking. They pulled Elena next. She screamed when they moved her arm. Then Pat, barely conscious. Finally Dimitris, who climbed in under his own power, refusing help. 4 survivors, all critical condition, need immediate medical attention. Marcus stared back at their raft. 8 days of hell. The platform was already drifting away, reclaimed by the sea. "How long were you out there?" the crew member asked. 8 days, Marcus said. "The ferry, it sank. 8 days ago." The crew member's eyes widened. The Santorini ferry. They stopped searching 5 days ago, said everyone was accounted for. Marcus processed this. They'd been written off, assumed dead. We're not dead, he said. The rescue boat reached the container ship. They loaded Elena first, securing her carefully. She was unconscious now. Pat went next, still muttering about her classroom. Dimitris climbed onto the platform himself, his pride intact. Marcus was last. As they raised him toward the deck, he looked out across the Aegean. Blue water, calm water, beautiful water that had almost been his grave. He thought about Emma, about the text he hadn't read, about 3 years of silence. If he survived the next few hours, he'd call her. He'd tell her everything. The platform reached the deck. Crew members surrounded him, checking vitals, wrapping him in blankets. Someone pressed water to his lips. He drank, and it hurt, but it was the best thing he'd ever tasted. You're going to be okay, someone said, all of you. The helicopter arrived 30 minutes later. Marcus heard it before he saw it, the thump of rotors. He was lying in the ship's medical bay, an IV in his arm. The medic had done what she could, but they needed real hospitals. Elena was worst. Her arm had swollen grotesquely, the infection spreading into her bloodstream. She was unconscious, breathing shallow. Pat was barely responsive. Her blood sugar had crashed so low the glucometer couldn't read it. Dimitri sat upright on his cot, refusing to lie down. The gash on his forehead had infected, but his eyes were clear. The helicopter's here for the women, the medic said. They're critical. You and the old man will go to Athens by ship. 5 hours. No, Marcus tried to sit up. We stay together. The helicopter can only take 2 patients. The women need trauma centers. You're stable enough to wait. Marcus watched them load Elena onto a stretcher. She looked dead already. Pat was next, strapped in, an oxygen mask over her face. The helicopter lifted off, banking south toward Athens. After 8 days pressed together, being separated felt wrong. They'll be okay, Dimitri said. Pat's tough, and Elena's young. Your son, Marcus said. Nikos. You were taking his things to his fiancée. They went down with the ferry. Dimitri nodded slowly. Yes, photos. His watch. A letter. All gone now. I'm sorry. The things I was carrying were for her, for me, but he's not in those things. He's here. Dimitris touched his chest. What we carry in here matters. The rest is just weight. Marcus thought about his laptop at the bottom of the Aegean. 20 years of work, all gone. Instead of loss, he felt freed. The ship's captain appeared. Mr. Chen, satellite phone, your daughter. Emma. I'll take it, he said. He pressed the phone to his ear. Dad. Emma's voice, older than he remembered. Dad, is that really you? Emma, his voice broke. Emma, I'm so sorry for everything. She was crying. I thought you were dead. They said the ferry went down. Then someone called and said they found survivors and I'm alive. And Emma, I need to see you as soon as they let me out of the hospital. I'm already on a plane to Athens. I left as soon as I heard. I'll be there tonight. Marcus closed his eyes. 8 days dying, and his daughter was already on a plane. I'll be here, he said. I'm not going anywhere. Not anymore. After he hung up, Marcus lay back and stared at the ceiling. You have a good daughter, Dimitri said. That's love you didn't lose, just misplaced. I don't deserve it. Love isn't about deserving. She chose you. Now you choose her back. Every day. The medic returned with more IV bags. Your kidneys are recovering, blood pressure stabilizing. You'll live. What about the others? The women are in surgery. Elena's arm is bad. They might have to amputate, but they're young. They have a chance. The ship's captain returned with paperwork. The media wants to talk to you. They're calling it the miracle of the Aegean. No, Marcus said. No media. They'll pay. Good money. Marcus thought about his old life, where good money had been the only metric, that Marcus had drowned between day 1 and day 8. I don't want their money, he said. I just want to see my daughter. The ship docked in Athens at sunset. An ambulance waited on the dock. Paramedics loaded Marcus onto a gurney despite his protests. They rushed him to Athens General Hospital. More doctors, more IV bags, more questions. How long adrift? What did you eat? How much water? You shouldn't be alive, one doctor said. Your kidney function was nearly zero. Another day and your organs would have started failing permanently. What about the others? Marcus asked. Elena and Pat. The doctor's expression became careful. They're alive, both in ICU. Patricia is stable. Elena is in surgery. They're trying to save her arm. Will they? I don't know. The infection spread very far, but the surgeons here are excellent. They wheeled Marcus to a private room. Clean sheets, soft pillows, a TV showing Greek news. He watched footage of the container ship, interviews with the crew. The headline, Miracle Rescue, 4 survive 8 days adrift. Marcus turned off the TV. He didn't want to see himself reduced to a headline. Didn't want to watch strangers dissect their suffering for entertainment. A nurse brought him dinner. Real food, soup and bread and fruit. He tried to eat but managed only a few bites. His stomach had shrunk. His body didn't remember how to process normal food. Your daughter's here, the nurse said an hour later. She's been waiting. Are you ready? Marcus's heart hammered. Ready? No. But he nodded anyway. Emma walked through the door. Emma looked older than Marcus remembered. Not just 3 years older. Aged in a way that had nothing to do with time. Her hair was shorter, her face thinner. She wore jeans and a Columbia University sweatshirt. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, just looking at him. Hi, Dad, she said finally. Emma? His voice cracked. You came. Of course I came. You almost died. She moved closer, pulled a chair next to his bed, sat down but didn't touch him. The Greek Coast Guard called Mom. Mom called me. I was on a plane 4 hours later. How is your mother? Worried about you, which is more than you deserve, but there it is. Emma's voice was steady, controlled. They said you were adrift for 8 days, that you shouldn't be alive. I shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. 4 of us made it off the ferry, built a raft, somehow survived. The news is calling you heroes. We're not heroes. We just refuse to die. Marcus shifted in the bed, wincing. Elena, one of the others, she's 19, your age, reminded me of you. She was running away from her family, spent 8 days wishing she'd told her mother she loved her. Emma's composure cracked. Tears ran down her face. You missed my high school graduation. You missed my 18th birthday. You missed 3 years of my life because you were too busy. I know. You don't get to almost die and have it erase everything. I know that too. So why am I here? Emma's voice broke. Why did I drop everything and fly across an ocean for someone who couldn't be bothered to read my texts? Because you're a better person than I am, Marcus said simply. Because somewhere in you, there's still a part that remembers when I was your dad and not just a stranger who paid child support. Emma looked away. I kept every voicemail you left. There were 4. 4 voicemails in 3 years, each one saying you'd call back soon. You never did. I was afraid of failing you, of being present and still not being enough. It was easier to stay away. Marcus struggled to sit up straighter. But I watched a man die on that raft. Dimitris. He talked about his son, how the sea took him 20 years ago. And I realized I was carrying around my failures instead of fixing them. You can't fix 3 years in one conversation. I know, but I can start. I can tell you I was wrong, that I'm sorry, that I want to be your dad again if you'll let me. Emma wiped her eyes. What did my last text say? The one you didn't read before the ferry. Marcus's throat tightened. I don't know, my phone went down with the ship. I'll tell you then. It said, Dad, I got accepted to Columbia Law. Following in your footsteps? Hope that makes you proud. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I spent 3 years angry at you, and I still wanted to make you proud. Marcus felt something break open in his chest. Emma had gotten into Columbia Law, his daughter, and he hadn't even known. Don't go, he said. Emma looked at him, confused. What? Don't go to law school. Not because of me. Marcus grabbed her hand, the first physical contact in 3 years. I spent 20 years building a career that meant nothing. I sacrificed you for it. For what? Money. Status. A partnership that didn't matter when I was dying in the Aegean. You loved being a lawyer. I hated being a lawyer. I loved winning, loved the validation. But the actual work, the 60-hour weeks, the clients I didn't respect, I hated all of it. He squeezed her hand. Don't make my mistakes. Choose a path because it makes you happy. I thought if I became a lawyer like you, maybe you'd want to spend time with me. Emma, no. I'd spend time with you if you decided to become a fisherman, or nothing at all. It was never about you not being worth my time. It was about me being too broken to know what mattered. A knock on the door. A nurse entered with a wheelchair. Mr. Chen, the doctor wants to take you to see your friends, Patricia and Elena. They're asking for you. Marcus looked at Emma. Come with me. Meet the people who kept me alive. They took the elevator to the ICU. Pat was in a room with monitors beeping, oxygen tubes in her nose, but her eyes were open. You look terrible, she said. You look worse, Marcus replied. He wheeled closer. Pat, this is Emma, my daughter. The one you talked about constantly on the raft, Pat said. Nice to finally meet the girl who saved her father's life without even being there. Emma looked between them, confused. Your dad talked about you every day, Pat continued. Every story, every regret. He survived for you, kept fighting because he needed to fix what he'd broken. Elena's room was next. She looked small in the hospital bed, pale and drawn, but alive. Her arm was heavily bandaged, elevated on pillows. They saved it, she said when Marcus entered. The arm. I keep my arm. She was crying, laughing. Doctors said 24 more hours and they cut it off, but we got rescued. We made it, Marcus agreed. My mother's coming. Tomorrow morning. I called her. I told her everything. I said I'm sorry. I said I love her. Elena noticed Emma. This is your daughter, the Emma from the raft stories. This is Emma. You're lucky, Elena said to Emma. Your father, he is different now. Not the man who got on the ferry. That man died on the raft. This man knows what matters. You give him chance. He won't waste it. After they left Elena's room, Emma was quiet. They really think you're different, she finally asked. I am different. 8 days watching people die changes you. 8 days choosing between giving up and fighting one more day. Marcus stopped his wheelchair. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I'll mess up. But I can promise I'll try. Every day. For the rest of my life, if you'll let me. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned down and hugged him. Actually hugged him. For the first time in 3 years. Don't make me regret this, she whispered. I won't, Marcus said. I swear I won't. 6 months later, Marcus stood on a beach in Santorini, a small fishing village on the island's north coast, where weathered boats bobbed in a tiny harbor. Emma stood beside him. She'd deferred law school for a year. Now she was teaching English to refugee children in Athens, making 70 euros a day, happier than Marcus had ever seen her. Pat emerged from a small white house. She moved slowly, still recovering, her diabetes under control, but requiring constant management. She'd stayed in Greece after the hospital released her. Said Cleveland felt wrong now. He's inside, Pat said. Been waiting all morning. Marcus followed her into the house. Dmitri sat at a wooden table, staring at a small box in front of him. You came, Dmitri said. Of course I came. For this, yes. For this I needed witnesses. Dmitri opened the box. Inside was a simple gold ring. My son's ring, the one I thought went down with the ferry, but the Greek Navy found wreckage. Recovered some things. This was one of them. That's impossible. I know, but here it is. A miracle. Or maybe Nikos wanted me to have it. Dimitri's picked up the ring. I'm taking it to her today. To Maria, his fiancée. 20 years late, but I'm taking it. A knock on the door. Elena entered, her mother beside her. Elena's arm was thinner than before, scarred but functional. She'd spent 3 months in physical therapy. Her mother, Ingrid, a small blonde woman, hadn't left her side. We're all here, Pat said. Everyone who survived. They sat around Dimitri's table. 5 people who'd been strangers 6 months ago. I've been thinking, Dmitri said, about the raft, about those 8 days, about what we learned, that we're tougher than we knew. Elena said. That love matters more than achievement, Marcus added. That every day is a gift, Pat said. Dimitris nodded. Yes, all of that. But also this. We don't survive alone. Never alone. On the raft, we survived because we held each other up, took turns keeping watch, shared what little we had. Marcus thought about the past 6 months, the weekly phone calls with Emma, the twice-monthly trips to Athens for dinner, the slow rebuilding of trust, the resignation from his law firm, the donation of most of his savings to ocean rescue organizations, the smaller apartment, the simpler life. I'm going back to school, Emma said suddenly. Not law school, social work. I want to help people like the families I'm teaching. Marcus felt pride swell in his chest. Not the old pride. This was different, deeper. Your father must be proud, Dimitri said. I am, Marcus said, more than she knows. They spent the afternoon together, sharing stories, laughing about things that hadn't been funny at the time. As the sun set, they walked to the harbor. Dimitris was taking his boat out. He was going to scatter his son's ashes at the spot where Nikos had died. Maria was waiting at the dock, a small woman in black. Thank you for bringing me his ring, she said. Thank you for coming home. Almost didn't, Dimitri said. Almost stayed with him, in the water, but these people, they wouldn't let me. They made me fight. Marcus watched Dimitris and Maria board the boat, watched them motor out into the Aegean, heading toward the sunset. Emma slipped her hand into his. You okay, Dad? Yeah, Marcus said. I'm okay. For the first time in my life, I'm actually okay. The boat disappeared into the golden light. Marcus stood with Emma, Pat, and Elena, watching until it became just a speck on the horizon. What now? Elena asked. We go back to our lives. Pretend 8 days didn't happen. No, Marcus said. We remember. We honor it. We live differently because of it. Pat pulled out her phone and held it up. Picture? All of us. So we remember this day. So when life gets hard again, we remember we survived harder. They crowded together, 4 survivors and 1 daughter, connected forever by 8 days that changed everything. The camera clicked. Marcus looked at the image on Pat's screen. 5 people smiling, alive, together. He thought about the lawyer who'd boarded that ferry 6 months ago. That man was gone, drowned somewhere in the Aegean. Good riddance. If this story meant something to you, drop a comment and share it. It helps the next person find their way here.